Hello children, today we are going to learn pressure part 3. So in the previous class we got the derivation or we created an expression for pressure, liquid pressure, which is P is equal to H rho G, and the total pressure acting will be inclusive of the atmospheric pressure, therefore PO plus H rho G. Today in this class we are going to learn about the consequences of liquid pressure. What are the consequences? Let us see one by one. So there is a statement already in laws of pressure. We learned the pressure at the certain depth in sea water is more than at the same depth in river water. So this was the statement. Is slightly a general statement was given. So what I did is before we go to the diagram, we see this statement. The density of sea water is more than the density of river water, that you know. Now you check it up. I have drawn a diagram for that. See, imagine this is sea water. Just I given a representation. And sea water, the density will be 1.02 gram per centimeter cube. Fresh water, the density is 1 gram per centimeter cube. So they both, imagine that they both are at the same height. So where the pressure will be more, the pressure is more for sea water because the density of sea water is more than the density of fresh water. So this is the first consequence. Now come to the second consequence. You all would have visited some dams, is it not? If you can see closely, so look at the walls of the dam. See, the width of the dam keeps on increasing. The width of the dam keeps on increasing downwards. Why? Because the pressure increases downwards. Therefore, the width of the dam or the bottommost part of the dam will be wider than the topmost part. So this is the concept of based on the consequences of the liquid pressure. Therefore, the wall of the dam is made purposely. It is made thicker at the bottom in order to withstand the pressure, liquid pressure. Okay. So the next consequence, easy. So you would have seen the water supply tank is always placed high. So imagine this is a tank and here it's a tap, and always the tank is placed at a height. Why? That is the reason you all will be knowing. The reason is greater the height of the tank, more will be the greater the height of the tank, more will be the pressure of water in the taps of the house. So as you keep the tank at a greater height, it causes greater the height of the tank, more will be the pressure of water in the taps. So it causes lot of pressure in the tap if the water is kept at a height. Okay. So this is one of the consequence. The fourth consequence is very interesting. So how the divers suit. You would have seen the suit of divers. Okay. So the sea divers, without suit they will never enter. So the sea divers need special protective suit to wear, because in deep sea, suppose the divers are diving in a deep sea. So what exactly happens? So the total pressure exerted on the diver's body, total pressure in the sense everywhere, the liquid pressure, the atmospheric pressure, everything includes, is it not? So the total pressure exerted on the diver's body is much more than his blood pressure. You know, every human being will have blood pressure, but the total pressure exerted on the diver's body will be more than his blood pressure. Or in general, we can write it as total pressure acting on the body will be much more than the body blood pressure. So this has to be balanced. This situation has to be balanced. Therefore, to withstand this situation, a protective suit made from glass reinforced plastic or cast aluminium is used. So if you are a good diver, or if you are in contact with any swimmers or somebody like that, you just have a talk with them. They will give a good idea about their suits. So it will be either made of glass reinforced plastic or cast aluminium. So the pressure inside the suit is maintained. Now after they wear that protective suit, what will happen? The pressure will be maintained to some extent. Therefore the divers will manage. Okay. The last one is very interesting. See the size of the gas bubbles. You would have seen gas bubbles inside the water. So I have drawn a diagram. The diagram is not in your textbook. So let us understand the circles which are given refers to the size of the bubbles. So the size of the bubble, if you can see, it keeps on increasing. The size of the bubble is maximum at the surface. Let us consider P1 is the pressure on the surface, P2 is the pressure at the bottom. So where the pressure will be more, here at the bottom the pressure P2 will be more than P1. So the bubble size is less. Why it is less? Let us understand that pressure is more at the depth. Let us keep this as such and go back to Boyle's law once again. Once again, I want to bring Boyle's law here in the picture. So according to Boyle's law, B is inversely proportional to 1 by V. You already learned in some chapter I have explained. Once again, I will explain now. Pressure is inversely proportional to volume. So as the pressure increases, volume decreases. So where the pressure is more in this diagram, the pressure will be more at the bottom. So the volume will be less. Volume here refers to the size. So the size of the bubble is much lesser at the bottom, and as it goes on to the surface, the volume is maximum on the surface. This is how the size of the bubble inside the water will have a variation. Okay, when it comes to the surface, the volume or the size will be more, but at the extreme bottom, the size will be the smallest. This is also one of the consequences of liquid pressure. So altogether, we have 5 consequences of liquid pressure, which is very important for your examination point of view. Okay. So let's go with the next topic, children. It's very interesting, Pascal's law. Today we will try to wind up with Pascal's law. Okay. So we are going to see the transmission of pressure in liquids, how the pressure is transmitted in liquids using Pascal's law. First, I have drawn a diagram clearly for you to understand. So this is a circular flask, circular bottom flask, fitted with a piston, and there are some side tubes also. So many side tubes are fitted. This is a specialized flask which is used to determine Pascal's law. Now you see, fill the flask with water and first measure the mark the initial level. See, there are 2 lines here darkened. So one is the initial level of water in all the tubes, and what you do now, just push the piston down. You know, the piston can be always pushed up or pushed down, is it not? So now what we are going to do, after filling water, just push the piston downwards. As soon as you push the piston downwards, what happens? The water raises and the jets of water will be escaping through the openings, and it reaches at the height. And look at the beauty, it will reach at the same height. The jets of water reaching the same height. So this will some phenomena or some truth or fact you will be deriving from this. Let it be as such. Let us come to one more example. I have taken 2 examples. Again, I have taken a cylindrical vessel. Okay, I have marked 1 point. Let us consider 1 point here on the surface and the other point Y at the bottom. Now the pressure difference in the vertical height will be delta H. Delta is a small difference. But what we do, by some means, if you are going to increase the pressure of X, what happens? The pressure at Y also increases by the same amount. See, that is what I want you to relate with this experiment. When you increase the pressure in X, the same amount of pressure is increased by the same amount. But of course, there is a pressure difference. That's different thing. Okay. Now, what you can understand, pressure exerted at a point X is equal to pressure exerted at the point Y. So this is based on Pascal's law. So what is Pascal's law? We will see now, which is very important. So according to Pascal's law, the pressure exerted anywhere in a contained liquid, anywhere. Okay, that's why I gave 2 examples. Anywhere in a contained liquid is transmitted equally and undiminished in all directions throughout the liquid. Okay, so once again I'll repeat. Pascal's law states that the pressure exerted anywhere in a contained liquid is transmitted equally and undiminished. Hope you know the meaning of undiminished. What is the meaning of undiminished? Means it will not become less. It will be equal. That's the meaning. Okay. Undiminished in all directions throughout the liquid. This is stated as Pascal's law, which is very important for your exam point of view. Now let us go to the next interesting concept. Okay. Yes. We will come to application of Pascal's law. So you may ask a question, ma'am, what is the point of learning this Pascal's law? Where it is used? So the Pascal's law is used in many hydraulic machines. Hydraulic means water. Machine means any machine which is using water will be called as hydraulic machines. So there are 3 types of hydraulic machines. But in this year, since the portions has been reduced, we won't explain about hydraulic press, hydraulic brakes and hydraulic jacks. Only we will mention, and only principle of hydraulic machine I will teach. Okay. So again, I just want to give you some ideas. Where is this hydraulic press used? Mainly hydraulic press is used in textiles industry or cotton textiles to press the cotton using the Same concept of Pascal. The piston will be pressing the cotton and the sheets, cotton sheets will be made into thick sheets, and that is how they do in textiles industries. Then hydraulic brakes are used in cars. In car, you will have hydraulic brakes. Okay. Again, hydraulic jacks, you would have heard about jack. Hydraulic jacks are used to lift heavy load or heavy vehicles. Okay. So I am giving only a vague or surface idea about all these three machines. If you are interested, you can see the textbook and learn more. Okay. Now let us come to principle of hydraulic machine. Very interesting, children. This is really very interesting. Okay. So I have got an experimental setup. First I will explain, I'll put the idea of the experimental setup and then explain what exactly is happening. So there are two cylindrical vessels. See, there are two cylindrical vessels, P and Q. Check it out. P and Q. Then there is a horizontal tube R. Are you able to see? Horizontal tube R. Okay. Now again there are two pistons. One piston is A. See here, piston A, and then piston B. So these are all the things we need. And P is of a smaller, the cylindrical vessel P is of a smaller diameter, maybe a smaller vessel, and B is a bigger vessel with a bigger diameter. So the area of cross section of P will be A1 and area of cross section of Q will be A2. Okay. Now what will happen according to Pascal's law? What should we do? We have to keep a weight here. Some weight is kept over the smaller cylinder, not in the larger cylinder. Smaller cylinder you have to keep. And then as soon as you keep, what happens? A force will be produced. Is it not? A piston. The piston, when you keep the weight over the piston, automatically the piston will be pushed down. So a small force applied on a smaller piston is transmitted to produce a larger force on the bigger piston. So this is the beauty of this whole experimental setup. So when you keep the weight, automatically the piston P is pressed and the water from here goes to the other piston, and this is how it is exerting a larger force on the bigger piston. A small force is applied here for the smaller cylinder is exerting a large force on the other cylindrical vessel. Okay. So now let us see mathematically. There is a formula where you will be using for numericals. Okay. So when a weight is placed on the piston A, it exerts a force F1, of course. It will exert a force F1 on the piston A. Now according to the formula, what is the formula for pressure? Force by area. So P1 is equal to F1 by A1. Take it as equation 1. Okay. Now let us go to next one. But according to Pascal's law, what is that? The pressure exerted in piston A is transmitted through the liquid to piston B. So what will be is transmitted means it is the pressure is exerted equally. According to Pascal's law, we have learned, and it is undiminished and equally in all directions. So P1 will be equal to P2. But what is P2 again? According to formula, F2 by A2. Now we are equating P1 and P2. So equation 1 is F1 by A1, which is equivalent to F2 by A2, or F2 by F1. This according to, we can change it, isn't it? Either you can use this also, this is the main formula. This will be easier for you. So F2 by F1 is equal to A2 by A1. Now, what is A2? Is this condition correct or not? See, check it up. A2 is greater than A1 and F2 is greater than F1 because the area of cross section is more and therefore the force also will be more. Okay. A small force F1 applied on a smaller piston A can be used to produce a large force F2 on the piston B. This is the principle of hydraulic machine. Okay. So this is the very important concept here. The formula is very, very important to solve the numerical problems. Okay. So this is how it is the hydraulic machine is working. So this is the principle of the hydraulic machine. Now let me come to the point. Now there is an interesting word here, interesting term. The hydraulic machine is also called as the force multiplier. Maybe this is a very new word to you, but I would like to bring your old topic of principle of levers, where you will understand the meaning of force multiplier. So what is the meaning of force? If a machine is a force multiplier, that means what? The effort will be less than the load, or the distance moved by the effort will be less, or the effort will be less and the load will be more. That is a meaning. Okay. Or effort is less than the load. Like that also you can learn. So here you would have learnt about the formula of mechanical advantage, which is equivalent to load by effort. Have you learned? In your 6th standard levels, you learn mechanical advantage is equal to load by effort. And if the mechanical advantage is greater than 1, then you call that as the ideal machine, is it not? So you would have learned that. That's what I'm just recalling. Okay, here, so in case of hydraulic machine, the mechanical advantage is greater than 1. Okay, so the velocity ratio, therefore, either you tell in terms of mechanical advantage, or you tell in the terms of velocity ratio, which is given as the ratio of distance moved by effort by distance moved by load. So this is the formula for velocity ratio. Suppose they are asking you what is velocity ratio, don't get confused. Just say that velocity ratio is nothing but the ratio of the distance moved by the effort to the distance moved by the load, and the velocity ratio also will be greater than 1. Either you can tell both, also both conditions you can say mechanical advantage is greater than 1 and velocity ratio is also greater than 1. So this is ideal situation for a machine. And what is the meaning of ideal situation? If the machine is an ideal machine, or if it is under ideal situation, there is no energy loss for the machine. Therefore, hydraulic machine is a wonderful force multiplier. This question can be asked as a give reason 1 mark question. Okay, so with this today we will stop, and the reading assignment is page 92, 93, page 92 and 93, question 16 to question 28. Okay children, I hope you have understood the concept. If you didn't understand, go through the videos twice or thrice. Automatically you will understand. Still you didn't understand, I can clear that in the doubt clearing session. Okay children, thank you. Have a nice day.